Well, welcome along to the Timeform Sporting Life weekend preview. And then there were two. David Orr joined by Matt Brocklebank. We couldn't attract a third wheel this week, could we, Matt?
Pleasure to be here. Flying, not solo. I'm in good company, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we'll start, as we always do, with the Timeform ratings for the Bet365 Gold Cup. Saturday's big betting race. Top of the shop, Lilos for Dan Skelton in the thick of the Trainers' title, or on the outskirts of it, really going into the final day. We'll take a big swing. 169 plays 166p Nick Rocket for Team Mullins. 165 Kitty's Light. Let's talk Lilos, Matt, for Skelton. He has no peer, does it, when it comes to laying a horse out for a handicap? Has this one been targeted at this for some time, do you think?
I would say so, Dave. Yeah, he's not run over fences at all this season, has he? He's had the 3 runs over hurdles. But if you go back a couple of years, he was really at the peak of his powers in these handicap chases, winning the Coral Gold Trophy. He's only £3 higher than for that victory as well, which came on good ground. And I think the ground is going to be important here this weekend. I know we have got rain showers forecast overnight, but they've been watering at Sandown all week. So I'm playing off largely relatively dry ground compared to, you look at obviously recent staying handicap chases this season. We've had a string of real soft bad ground races of this nature. The Irish Grand National, obviously, the Scottish, and the Grand National itself, obviously, at Aintree. So Lilos is presumably been kept back with this race in mind. He run okay. He ran like he might have needed it in the Pertemps final at Cheltenham. But yeah, he comes here fresh off 44-day layoff, and he's Skelton's only run in the race. I think that's probably a fairly significant pointer in itself.
So look at our first video clue then. It's last year's race, won by Kitty's Light, back again to defend his title off the back of a really good run in the Grand National at Aintree. And Matt, there'd be no more popular winner than this fella for Christian Williams and his wonderful family. Here he is in the cheek pieces getting the job done.
He got the job done very well indeed on the day, didn't he? And this was the culmination of a brilliant campaign for him, winning the 3 big races, the Ida Chase, the Scottish National and the Bet365 Gold Cup on the last day. And if you say that he's had a hard race at Aintree just a couple of weeks ago, well, he's had an extra week's rest, Dave. This came last year on the back of just 1 week on, 7 days on from winning at Ayr. So he's been a phenomenal horse. You look back and it's amazing to think this horse is only 8 years old. He was this is his 4th run in the race. Not only did he win it there, but he was placed 3rd and then 2nd the year before that. Amazing horse. Like you say, a really good story around him. If they can get another big win with this horse, it would mean a lot to everyone involved, and no doubt the wider racing public as well. Drying ground, I think, has been a plus for him as well, and he's been put down a pound for the run at Aintree. I thought it was a really fantastic run, just finishing.
Looks strong form as well.
Finishing in amongst 7 or 8 really good quality Irish horses. Not only the winner, Iron Maximus, that people are talking sort of Gold Cups potentially next year, but Gold Cup winner Manella and Delta Work. So really strong form. He's been eased a pound, which looks very fair. So £5 higher than last year's win. He's short enough in the betting, but I've not much against him other than that.
So look at another video now. The horse is Nick Rocket for Willie Mullins. Here he is finishing Central American Matt. It's a solid run. He then went off favourites for the Irish Grand National. Now, I didn't think he got home that day at Fairyhouse over this sort of trip, but as you made the point in the office, he's going to face very different ground at Sandown.
Yeah, that's it. He actually won a bumper on good to yielding ground and a Grade 2 novice hurdle on yielding ground in Ireland as well in his youth. So who knows, really? All of his chase form so far has come on real proper winter ground, and this again here. He was a bit wayward, wasn't he, with his jumping, and that. He
jumped okay at Fairyhouse, didn't he? I was a bit worried about that going into it, but it wasn't ever strewn. There was
no, it wasn't ever strewn. It wasn't completely smooth either. So he's going to have to brush up on that. Obviously, Sandown is a renowned jumping test for a novice. He's fairly inexperienced in the grand scheme of things. You compare him to a horse like Kitty's Light, but Paul Towner keeps the ride. It was probably going to be a brave move for him to jump ship off that horse because he ran okay at Fairyhouse in the Irish National. Is he brilliantly handicapped? I'm not sure, personally. I think there are a couple of other novices in the race as well that are maybe a better handicap than him. But he's Willie's and he's a novice and he's in a big staying handicap chase in Britain. So you've got to respect Nick Rocket. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he went very close.
Good news is we have got a video of the winner as well. My Horse by Horse card read by millions through the week on Sports. I put up Amorite for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. Now, you need good eyesight to spot him here, Matt, because he's been shuffled back on the home turn. This is the Paddy Power Chase, won by Meeting of the Waters, going past Jane Tabela. This is really, really rock solid handicap form. He's in the yellow silk, just about to jump the last now under Rachel Blackmore, running on strongly. Things in this horse's favour. He's a deadly record when fresh, and he hasn't been seen since his stay, and any drying of the ground at Sandown in his favour too.
Definitely, yeah. You've summed it up beautifully with this horse. I'm glad you pointed him out because he does get
in the gloom. It's hard as well, isn't it?
This form looked really red hot at the time. It hasn't necessarily worked out quite that way, but obviously still time for that to happen. Am I right? He was. If you go back to last spring, he was very well back favourite for the Irish Grand National. It didn't happen for him at all. He found them going really too quick for him. He did make jumping mistakes, and he really paid for it. So he's a second season novice this time around, and he's still, for me, a little bit of a nearly horse because he sort of seems to be sitting on potential, but he's not gone and done it yet. You look at some of the other rivals in this race, like Manella Kakuna, who is a Grade 1 winner as a novice. You've got some real classy horses in here, and you know, you're looking at potential and you're looking at him he's been fairly well backed in the market. He's sort of 6-7 to 1. So he's still got to prove it to me that he is a well handicapped novice. Now he could well be, and like you say, fresh, decent ground. I'm not saying it's going to be lively ground, it's going to be decent ground. And he could have run at Fairyhouse, and he was taken out of the Ultima Handicap Chase when it went heavy that day. So clearly they're bringing him ready for a proper spring target, and this is the one. And Henry de Bromhead knows all about targeting such big races. Now, he's not for me, but I do wish you looked, Dave, because I know that you've invested in him.
Yeah. I thought it was unlucky at Cheltenham first time as well, this saddle slipped. I just think there's a bit of unfinished business about Amorite, and we'll find out at Sandown whether there is. Right, Matt, he's not your fancy. Go on, what's the bet for the Bet365 Gold Cup?
Yeah, I do really respect Manella Kakuna. Now, we've been here before with obviously Danny Mullins winning the big one at Ayr for Willie just last week. Like I say, he was a Grade 1 novice hurdler. That was at the DRF a couple of seasons ago. He's a novice as well over fences. He finished third in the Irish Grand National, so ahead of Nick Rockett. He ran a fantastic race considering he had top weight that day on bad ground, and they're on record connections of this horse saying that he does prefer better ground. So this is going to be in his favour, seemingly. If you look at Irish Grand Nationals in recent seasons, really, you've got to be looking down the weights. So for him to run such a huge race at Fairyhouse was to his real credit. He's actually entered in a Grade 1 novice at Punchestown next week. So obviously I'm not saying he's going to do the double, but he shows the regard in which this horse is held. I've got huge respect for him. Again, he's getting just a fraction short for me in the betting. If Manella Kakuna had been 10 or 12 to 1, I'd been quite keen on him. The one I like is We've All Been Caught. Now, I know a few people maybe had the fingers burnt. He was quite well backed for the Ultima at Cheltenham. Now, I think with him, it's quite an interesting one because we don't really know, again, with him, when it comes to better ground, because it was heavy at Cheltenham. And he's such a huge, fine stamp of a chaser that everyone assumes that he's going to really relish testing conditions. And I don't think he was seen to best effect that day. I really don't. And if you actually look at his pedigree, he's by Getaway, the sire. Now, Getaway has sired all sorts of horses, are winners of plenty of good races over fences and hurdles. But interestingly, he sired Talk Is Cheap, 2019 winner of this race on good ground, and Cooper's Cross, who won the Sky Bet Chase on good ground and was second in last year's Scottish National on good ground. And then also the likes of Verdana Blue, who are now preferred better ground as well. So I'm just wondering if this horse might be sitting on a big performance this weekend. He gets in off bottom weight. He's been eased to a career low handicap mark as well. So I think there's potential with him. If you go back to the start of this season, he ran a good third at Cheltenham, quite an eye-catching run behind Flooring Porter in the novice there. So I think he's well handicapped. If he can put it all together with the jumping, I'd imagine Sam Twiston-Davies will give him a fairly prominent ride. We've All Been Caught, I'd say, would be my bet in the race. The outsider I could see running a big one. You might laugh at me because you've been talking about Peter Bowen's cold spell recently, but Cortland has just caught the eye a little bit. He's about 33-40 to 1. Now, he went on a winning spree last summer. He was kind of forced into a better grade, having started off being rated 110 or something. He was up to 144 and ran in the old Rowan at Aintree and then the Badger Beers, and it didn't really work for him. It was soft ground, but he's fresh, this time around. He was very fortunate to win just the other day in a 2-mile handicap chase because the first two in front of him came down. So that's not going to take a strict reading of that form at all. He was fortunate that day, but I think he's sneaking into this as a bit of a dark horse. I could see Cortland running really big race.
It's not the only race, obviously, at Sandown on Saturday. Some fascinating action. We've got the time form ratings now for the Bet365 Celebration Chase. This is one of the races of the season. Not my words, the words of Willie Mullins in his column. It's El Fabiolo, 187p. £6 clear of old rival John Bon. Edward Stone 6 further back on 175. El Fab v John Bon. Do you think the £6 between the two, and who'd come out on top, Matt?
I think that is probably fair, isn't it? I don't think many people would really argue that John Bon should be right up beside him, and yet in the same breath you wouldn't have El Fabiolo £10 clear, would you, on what they've done? It is another rematch between them. We've been waiting for it since last year's Arkle. Obviously they clashed as novice hurdlers as well, and John Bon does have a verdict over him, but El Fabiolo has developed into a brutal 2-mile chaser, a brilliant horse on his day. Now, we didn't see him at his best at all in the Queen Mother Champion chase, where early mistakes, it was over before it started for him, and Paul Tannand obviously pulled him up. Prior to that, the DRF win was pretty sensational. He obviously beat Dino Blue, who went close in the mare's chase, and he beat the eventual winner of the Queen Mother itself, Captain Guinness, as well that day. So on that form, he's the horse to beat. It's a fantastic race. I think we'll have to just acknowledge that. They are kind of all here, aren't they? Captain Guinness, obviously the Cheltenham winner, is missing, and Ergamen as well, who's been out most of the season. But the others are all here. The vast majority of them have won. There's only a 7-runner field. 5 of them have won Grade 1s, and the other 2 have actually finished second in Grade 1s as well. So it's a quality race, but I expect El Fabiolo to get it done and probably put the seal on Willie's title challenge. Time
for our best bets from elsewhere for Saturday. I'll go first with Let Life Happen at Doncaster. Horse I wrote up for the time form, horses to follow, but that's not the only reason I'm putting it up. But she's a low mileage, well-bred 4-year-old with Sir Michael Stout. First handicap off a mark of 84 at Doncaster. I think that's lenient, and I think the form of a win at Kempton at the back end is working out really strongly. Let Life Happen to make a winning return. 7.10 Doncaster. Matt, for you?
Yeah, 150 Sandown, Lario for Harry Derham. Derham's in great form. He's interesting. He's got half a dozen horses entered up at Punchestown next week as well. So yeah, he's having a pop at that. He's had 8 winners so far this month. He's trapping on a really good strike rate. If I was Ben Linfoot, I'd open the stats drawer at this stage and pull out the.
He's taking the key with him.
Yeah, he's locked it, but he has passed on a stat, which is pretty handy because Derham's record in novice handicap hurdles since September the 1st, so basically this season, is 4 from 15. That's really good. Not only that, but the tongue tie goes on this horse, and he's got a fantastic record with the tongue tie, over 46% strike rate, 6 winners from just 13 starters in the first time tongue tie. So Lario in the 150 for me at Sandown.
There you go, Lario in the 150 for Matt at Sandown. A fantastic day's racing at Sandown Park. We're going to see the champion trainer crown the champion jockey crowned. I'd be surprised if it's not Mullins and Cobden, but we are recording this before racing on Friday. Thanks for watching. I mean, we might run a competition to see who's going to get the 3rd seat next week, but somebody will be in there to join us to look ahead to the Kipco 1000 and 2000 Guineas Festival at Newmarket. Yeah, it really is that time of year.